So surprisingly, Derek Warwick has been in the news recently. He was suspended as an FIA steward for the Canadian Grand Prix last weekend. Now, why was this? Well, it was all down to some comments that he made in the media recently. Now, the easy headline from this is the fact that some people will say, he's been caught out. British bias at its finest. He and Johnny Herbert, they're finally out of the FIA. Good riddance to them. Except he's going to be back at the next round for Austria. So Warwick is not gone. Obviously, Johnny Herbert, he was booted off at the start of this year. Comments that he made last year very much going against what the FIA at least pretends to stand for. Let's not get into the weeds at how honourable the FIA is, because we'll be here for a very long time. We're not going to question that. We're just going to talk about Warwick, what he did, why he got suspended, and why he's going to be back for the Austrian Grand Prix, the next round of the Formula 1 calendars. For those that missed it, we had a very controversial incident at the Spanish Grand Prix, of course, between George Russell and Max Verstappen. Now, for anybody that has the use of either one of their eyes, or in most cases both, of course, we could all see that Max Verstappen did what he did deliberately. He tried to crash into George Russell's car, and he did crash into George Russell's car. Since then, he's apologised for it. He's admitted fault for it. Move on. That's what it is, right? No problems at all. He got punished for it rightfully at the time. But a lot of people were calling for Max Verstappen's head. They were saying that he should be suspended from the next race. He should have been disqualified from the Spanish Grand Prix. Rip up his super license. Honestly, I have genuinely seen people saying that he should be kicked out of Formula 1. It's unbelievable. But that's genuinely what some people were saying. And everybody has to have an opinion. In the words of Vincent Vega from Pulp Fiction, well, you've got to have an opinion. And I had an opinion on this as well. And I thought that 10 seconds on the balance of things, it was a little light, but the fact it sent him all the way from 5th down to 10th, I think that kind of punishment was probably about what it should have been. However, a lot of people were saying he should have got more, Derek Warwick being one of them, and he gave an interview after the Spanish Grand Prix confirming his thoughts about it. He said, and I quote, "Should he have done what he did to George Russell in turn 5? Absolutely not. Did he get a penalty for it? Yes," Warwick said, before going on to explain, "Some people argue that Sebastian Vettel received a 10-second drive-through penalty in Baku in 2017 when he deliberately drove into Lewis Hamilton. But if you look at the video of Max, it looks to me like he dived in but then turned away from George. The momentum just carried him into him." Warwick continued, "I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it was right. It was absolutely wrong. The FIA gave him a penalty. Should it have been harsher? I actually think they got it about right. Many would say that he should have received a race ban as a deterrent for young karting drivers, and they are probably right." So overall, Warwick does lean into the fact that he thinks that it should have been a harsher penalty for that, but he does side with the stewards overall. However, the fact that he's kind of talking about this and he's an FIA race steward is kind of a big problem for the FIA. When you've got your match officials, effectively, your race officials, questioning other race officials in a public forum, that is not going to go down well, unfortunately. In fact, it's always going to go down incredibly badly. You don't see referees in football questioning other referees. It's always the ex-referees, the Mike Deans of the world that come out with this sort of stuff. You never really see current referees saying that kind of thing. And it's all about managing that PR, managing that image of the FIA, which, let's be honest, guys, right now, over the last few years, since a certain Mohammed Ben Sulayem came to the fray, especially over the past few years, it's not really doing very well at the moment. So they need as many PR wins as they can get. They don't need PR losses, and they definitely don't need PR own goals. But there was more to it than that, and there's actually quite a bit of a dark underbelly when it comes to this, which I didn't realise about Derek Warwick, and it's not too dissimilar to what happened with Johnny Herbert. Of course, one of the big critiques of Johnny Herbert being, of course, the fact that he was allegedly biased against Max Verstappen, and, did say some things in the media that would definitely allude to that being a potential motivator for giving him penalties. But on top of that as well, Johnny Herbert was very heavily involved in gambling sites. He might still be involved in them. I don't know, to be honest. I've not really kept up with him since he left the FIA. And Warwick is kind of doing something similar. See, that interview that he did where he gave those quotes about Verstappen and Russell, that wasn't actually produced. That wasn't given in a press conference or a TV interview or anything like that. That interview actually came from a PR agency. Now, that might not sound too sinister in itself, but there is a lot more to it, because this is all in association with a gambling website called Playmo. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Plejmo. They're a gambling website, and when it comes to these quotes being published online, you have to actually quote that website as the source of it when you actually publish these quotes in an article. So instead of it being, I don't know, conducted by the BBC Sports or whatever, it's conducted by Playmo. And again, you might be thinking, well, that just sounds really weird. Why would a gambling website like that want to be promoted via a Formula One race steward, an ex-Formula One driver from back in the day? Well, it's all to do with things like backlinks and SEO and all that sort of stuff. See, when these quotes are actually published, it's not only the name Playmo, but it's also the link as well. And I apologize if I'm saying it wrong, guys, but don't go looking them up because they're a gambling website. It's what it is. But anyway, essentially what they do is that this is basically PR for them. Hence why it comes from a PR company. It is promotion for them. People will see these quotes by Derek Warwick. They will click onto the article. And then even if they don't actually click on the link itself, which of course they can do to go to the website, but even if they don't, more traffic goes towards that article, more people see the article, therefore it ranks higher. If it ranks higher, more people will actually see that link and more people will like to click on the link and go to that gambling website. That's how they make their money. And they actually pay a lot of money for this sort of thing. Like, there's some serious money in it for people like this. I mean, Warwick, as revealed by website motorsporttotal.com, some motorsport stars or ex-motorsport stars can pocket up to €30,000 per year. That's around £25,000 for us in the UK. And it's a lot of money for essentially sitting down and just talking to media outlets and having them actually go out and share those quotes around. So yeah, interesting. And that kind of goes against a lot of the things with the FIA. The FIA is not too happy about some of their officials being associated with these gambling websites. They like to portray a clean cut and fair image. Again, I know obviously Mohammed Ben Sulayem does his best to ruin that as best as he can, but one rule for him, one rule for the rest of us. But let's not go into an MBS rant here. So what's happened now? What's going to happen with Derek Warwick? Is he going to stay on as an FIA steward? Well, yes, he is. He's going to come back for the Austrian Grand Prix in the next round of the championship. And, from there, just to reassume whatever kind of duties he had before, because, yeah, he was suspended from his role, just for that one race in Canada, and he's going to be back. But should he be banned personally? Has he showed too much personal bias there? Can his decisions be trusted? I tell you what, imagine this, right? Imagine this situation. Imagine the meltdown in the online forums of Formula One. If Derek Warwick at the Austrian Grand Prix gives Max Verstappen a dubious penalty. And by the way, there's more than just Warwick. There's like 3 stewards. So it's not just him. It's a group decision. He's the ex-driver representative. There's other people involved as well. But imagine if Verstappen gets a penalty at the Austrian Grand Prix for something a bit dubious. Gets that race ban. Because he's 1 penalty point away, as we always point out here, right? And that's going to change after the Austrian Grand Prix. He'll only be 3 penalty points away from a ban. So he's not really safe even at that point, but he's very much on the precipice. He's very much on the edge, as it were, right now of getting a race ban. But imagine if Warwick gives him that race ban. Imagine if he gives them that penalty, that 1 penalty point race ban for the following round at Silverstone. I'm not saying I'd like to see it. I wouldn't. I don't want to see race, drivers be banned, but imagine the absolute meltdown. The British bias brigade will absolutely be out in force at that one. We will never, ever hear the end of it. But guys, let me know what you're thinking about this in the comments below. The situation is pretty crazy, to be honest. And like I said, there is a bit of a dark underbelly to it all. Not quite on Mazepin Oaks level like we covered a good few months ago on the channel. Check that out if you've not already. But yeah, the Warwick situation is a bit crazy. Should he be allowed to return to steward Formula One races? Can his opinion be trusted? Your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always, guys. And have a fantastic day wherever in the world today. And we'll see you very soon.